What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock podcast. We are joined by a super special guest today, the fourth overall pick in the 2015 CFL draft, now entering his eighth CFL season, and one of the longest tenured Alouettes on the roster right now is Chris Ackie.
How you guys doing?
Good. Chris, thank you so much for joining. Obviously, I kind of want to jump into it just very quickly. I mentioned it just now. Speaking in your tenure, you've grown into one of the most recognizable names and faces in Montreal football. And obviously, you've hit free agency a few times and always seem to find your way back to Montreal. What is it about, the city or the team that just keeps you so engaged and connected here?
So yeah, I always end up finding my way back to Montreal
Yeah.
somehow. But no, I love the city. Such great fans of Montreal. Montreal's such a good environment too. It's a great city. So much to do, like so much culture there. So many festivals, especially during the summertime. And being from Toronto, and then telling my all my Toronto friends and family how great Montreal city is. They just love coming to visit all the time. So that's what really keeps bringing me back to Montreal. See the team as well. I've played with some great players over, I guess, the
Mhm.
past 8 years. So it's been it's nice to get back to them as well.
For sure. And so we spoke to Tyson Philpott last week, and we asked him his favorite restaurant in Montreal, and he has not dove in and embraced the city, the culture, the food, anything like that. Do you have a favorite restaurant in Montreal since you've been here?
And Tyson's too busy walking up and down St. Cat and St. Laurent to go eat at a restaurant. I have a few restaurants I really like. Honestly, there's so many. I like Wines and Gavinos.
Okay.
Uh, what else? I cook a lot, so sometimes I don't always step out. But I've been going to I go to Moretti sometimes.
Classic.
There's I don't know, my realtor in Montreal is Italian, so he's taking me to a bunch of new Italian spots. One spot is good too, Mano Carnuto.
Mano Cornudo, yeah.
Yeah, no, I honestly like that spot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, there's so many good restaurants, like a pizza spot. Like I'm probably gonna mess up the name, like Il Focia or
Yeah. I
something
know.
like that. I don't know. There's so many great restaurants in Montreal. It's always exploring a little bit.
Yeah, amazing. And like we said, so jumping into the football side of things, in 2018, you were traded to Ottawa midseason. For all us non-professional athletes, what does that process of a trade look like, especially, halfway through a season?
Yeah, so actually, it was more than halfway through the season.
Yeah.
We had 4 games left in the season. The process it's kind of it's weird. It's a little weird. I know at the time, it was discussed. We're on a bye week, so we're on a bye week. I was back in Ontario, and then I get a call, be like, "Hey, well, I have 5 teams at the deadline right now that want your services for the playoffs." And it's like, "Hey, we're not making playoffs here in Montreal. Where do you want to go?" And at first you're shocked because you don't want to go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
Even though you're losing, even though yeah, we had a losing record when we were making playoffs, it was still you have a lot of fun with your team and everything. So yeah, in Montreal it's a good city, but then you gotta think of hey, business wise, okay, where do you want to go? So obviously I ended up going to Ottawa. Ottawa had a good team. They were first in the East at the time. We ended up going to the Grey Cup. Unfortunately, we lost to Calgary that year, but it's still a good experience just to go. It was my first time in my career going to playoffs, so that was nice. So I'd say getting traded is it's like moving to a new high school in the very last month, where it's like, hey, you're just showing up for prom and graduation. Yeah, everything. It's like everyone been together all the entire time, but you just show up at the very end and say, okay, I'm here.
Hmm.
Now you gotta make friends and everything, especially against guys that you were competing against all season. You talk a lot of trash to them as well. And then it's like, okay, boom, hey, now we're teammates. Let's work together. But no, Ottawa they were super accepting, those guys over there. So that was a good experience.
And you ended up coming back to Montreal in the offseason as one of your, many re-signing back in Montreal. Did you ever have that discussion with the GM at the time that was like, hey, we're going to trade you, but in the offseason, let's run it back?
Yeah, that was actually discussed. Hey, we're going to trade you. We're good. Um, if I get an opportunity to get you back, I'm going to get you back. So that was in my mind. I didn't know for sure I was going to come back to Montreal, but I knew the opportunity was going to be there. if I wanted it, if I wanted to be back in Montreal.
Yeah, and then your only other stop outside of Montreal was 3 years ago, almost to the day. You decided to go back home and sign with the Argos. Obviously, we know how the COVID season played out, and you never actually suited up for them. But what was that process like of joining a new team during COVID? Obviously, you were back home. You live in Toronto, but did you connect with the team a lot? Were you guys meeting over Zoom, or did you go into the facilities at all?
Well, yeah, because I guess it was right before COVID officially hit and
Right.
everything was closed down. So it would have been like maybe a month before.
Hmm.
So yeah, I went to the facility. I was working out at the facility and everything, getting to know some of the other local guys that were in town. And then we didn't really have too many meetings. We didn't have any meetings yet 'cause it was still early. And then kind of the whole like COVID hit, and then everything was shut down. And then it was just like, okay, like we're just off for the year. Like actually, it was so much uncertainty. We didn't know, hey, we're gonna have a short season, or we could do the bubble. No one really knew what was going on. And then I feel like in August, it was kind of declared that, hey, we're not going to have a season. So then it was kind of like, okay, we know everyone, hey, take the year off, do what you got to do, whatever other opportunities you have, or whatever projects you're working on, go ahead, focus on that, focus on your health. And then the following season, because I was on a 1 year deal, you go back to the table to negotiate again. And that's when Montreal came back, kind of like, hey, we should never let you leave. Like, we want you back. So it's one of the things like, hey, I like Montreal. Like, if the contract makes sense, I can come back, and it did. So that's why I came back to Montreal.
Did you have discussions with Toronto to re-up there instead of coming back to Montreal, or it was just like in your mind you were coming back to Montreal if they offered?
No, no. I was speaking with Toronto as well. Yeah, I was speaking with Toronto, and then it just kind of like, I don't know, just how the conversation was going. It just made sense to come back to Montreal at the time, and I obviously I don't regret that. It was a good opportunity to come back. Like we had a lot of fun in 2021 season, where when we really like turned our defense around. So it's a good time.
Hmm. Yeah.
And Dawson kind of brought it up before.
Mhm.
You being one of the longest tenured Alouettes here, this team's kind of young in CFL experience wise. Do you take it upon yourself to kind of be a mentor to a lot of the younger guys?
Well, I feel they're younger. Obviously, I do. Um, but like my leadership style is not going to be like that, like rah like guy who's like yelling. 'Cause obviously, I'm not going to fake it if that's not me. So I'm always like kind of like, but I'm always like, guys know like me as a leader around as well. Like, the young guys come talk to me about anything. We discuss like game plan and whatnot. But we always have a lot of like good leaders on the team, especially on that defense. A lot of guys who are more of that like vocal leader that's stepping as well. So it's not like, hey, this is this person, hey, this one person, the captain. We all rally around this person. At this point, there's so many good leaders on the team. Like every position group has a good leader. So everyone kind of just like rallies around everybody. Whoever wants to step up that day really has it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that it was really represented how the team thought of you when you were nominated for the Al CFLPA rep this year. Obviously, just the league in general. Seeing that as that's a peer voted honor. How much of an honor did you take that as to be nominated as that CFLPA rep for the Owls?
No, I'll say I enjoy it. I did it. I think it was my second season, PA rep for the team. So it's obviously nice to be like recognized by my peers that like they want me to be the voice of the team for them. And I've had some experience with the PA as well. So it was always nice, and I like being in that position. Like I always get guys reach out to me when they have any questions. I like being able to put them in the right direction. If that's like through the CFOP Academy for learning like to build other skills outside of football, or if that's just like simple contract questions or just whatever it is they need. So I'm always there to help them.
Can you talk a little bit more, like elaborate a little bit more what you kind of do as a CFL PA rep? Like, are you like that middle point between the CFL and the players? Like a lot of us, you never really hear people talk about CFL PA and stuff like that. So if you could just elaborate more on that.
Yeah, so honestly, you're really like you're the voice of your locker room, and then whatever like your voice of the locker room between the players and between like the front office as well. Like if there's ever anything going on, like you're the first one that needs to step in to solve the problem. Like if the guys have any questions or anything, guys have any issues going on, they come to you first, and you deal with that. If that's going to management or that's going straight to the PA, then the PA executive, then that's what you do as well. And it's like I said, you're just a voice of your locker room to represent your entire team. Whatever issues we have, what we say we need to bring it to the CFL level, like I'll be the person to vocalize that.
Amazing. And then I want to jump into last year a little bit. So you missed a big chunk of time last year, and really when you came back, you were playing all over the defense, right? I think you started at Mike in the Eastern Championship. Is this the type of flexibility that, as a CFL vet, you just kind of anticipate and you run with, or was there a big adjustment period for, jumping around the defense a lot last year?
I feel like I've always done that, even like early in my career. So that's been like a big, like, I guess a positive. Just kind of the player I am. I can just play in multiple positions. Like at university, I played the boundary half, and then I get to CFL. I'm playing safety, and I'm playing Sam. I'm playing Will. Like, I'm playing field half in practice. So I've always like bounced around a bunch of different positions. So so being able to go from like Will to Mike to so I'm playing safety in the game, like it really doesn't like matter to me. It's something like I have like the athletic ability to do. Obviously, like there's some positions I'd rather not play than others. Like playing safety to me, like playing safety is kind of boring. I would say playing safety depends on the system.
Leave it to Dequa. He does it well.
Yeah, playing safety is for me is just kind of like high player in the post. That's like you can do it, but it's like for me, I'd rather be more like in the box, more in the action, doing things like that. But like I said before, it's like going from like Mike to Will to whatever position they need me. It's like it's not too tough.
And Noel Thorpe came back in the to be the DC later in the season. Did that make you bouncing around the defense easier because you're comfortable in that system?
I wouldn't say that maybe bounce on the defense easier. It's just like Thorpe knows he could play me at multiple positions. So that's why I guess for him, it was just like, okay, I know I can play Chris here, let him start low and then rotate high to the safety each position, like whatever we needed to do. So we were able to like disguise a lot of things on our defense that way. Especially we have a lot of athletic guys around, so it's like no one really had a position. I'd say like near the end of it, because everyone was just moving around. We used to move around so much that it's like sometimes you can identify like who was DN, who was linebacker. Like guys with the D, we had Usher dropping, we had Mike Moore dropping, we had a lot of guys. We had Mondo dropping sometimes, so we had a lot of things moving. So that was a really good disguise we had.
So what's the position Chris Ackie wants to play? If you had to choose one on defense, what's yours? I know you said safety. You didn't really enjoy doing that, but what's your one?
It's not like I hate safety. It's just for me, I'd rather be a more exciting position. I love playing Will. I did start at Mike for about 3 games, and I like Mike too. Like people don't really like. I think Will is tougher than Mike. Like I feel like when I moved from like Will to Mike, it's kind of like at Mike, it's like you don't have to do too much. You still do a lot, but you don't do as much as Will. I feel Will is a real hybrid position that maybe doesn't get as much respect as it should, just because you do so much. Because you're a DB, sometimes you're in the box, sometimes you're blitzing, sometimes so you got to do a lot. But it keeps things exciting, so I really love playing that Will spot.
Awesome. And then in terms of, this upcoming year, there's still obviously a bunch of dominoes that need to fall in terms of personnel and just the Owls in general. But do you have any expectations for, the team in general or the defense in general as of today, into this upcoming year?
Honestly, it's really tough to say. Like I really don't know. Like there's so many moving parts right now, so I don't know what's gonna happen. Like it's still early. Like we don't know what's gonna happen free agent wise. Like we don't know who we're getting back. We don't know who we're gonna let go. So there could be trades happening. We really don't know what's going to happen. So it's really tough to speak on that right now.
Absolutely.
And I kind of asked Tyson this question too, and he didn't really have too much of an answer. But your position group, you look at guys like Pickett and Michael Alouette, they're both pending free agents. Have you talked to either one of them and seen where their head's at to see if they're coming back?
See, I haven't reached out to them to figure that out because honestly, at this point, like, I guess Pickett is new to the free agent period. Mike has been there before, so they obviously got to do what's best for them. The only advice I have for anyone going to free agency is you gotta do what's best for you. Like with football, being a professional athlete, like you have such a small window. They say the average career is 2 to 3 years. Some people are fortunate to play longer. Some people are unfortunately have to play less than that. So you never know what can happen. So my advice is, hey, get your money while you can. You know what I mean? Because once you leave this game, they're not knocking on your door anymore. They're
Mhm.
not they're not come checking on you. They don't just have a job waiting for you. Like, hey, come do this. Maybe some players do, but not everybody. So I figure for my advice to anyone going into that process, just do what's best for you and your family, your people, but get your money while you can. Like because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, teams like teams are gonna care about their best interest first before they care about yours. So do what you got to do.
So you're actually one of the only athletes where when I'm doing research for an interview like this, I type in Chris Ackie. One of the first or second links that pop up is Chris Ackie LinkedIn, right? So obviously you're fully prepared and obviously involved in a life outside of football right now. But um, at what point in your career did you realize, or maybe before your career even started, that a life outside of a football, a plan B or a second plan is super important for you?
Yeah. So I work. So I do public affairs,
Mhm.
specialize in government relations for Canada Health Infoway. So we're like a like virtual care, like digital health organization. But I've been thinking about life. I don't even looking at Plan B. It's more like
Right. That's
Plan.
why I corrected it because yeah.
Yeah, because it's like any athlete knows you're not going to play your sport forever. I'm not
Mhm.
going to sit here and be, let me play football till I'm 60, then retire and be like, okay, let me just go into retirement, go on
Mhm.
vacation, all that stuff. It's not as much as we would want to do that. It's not realistic. Even though we've seen like Tom Brady try to do it, but it's honestly there's that's such a special talent, but it's not realistic. So I've been thinking about life after football probably realistically since my second season
Okay.
just because you never know when it's going to end and you want to be able to set yourself up right
Mhm.
after. So want to like transition into a good career that you're going to like. So it's really about just finding. I spent like early my career finding out like what I like. So during the off season, some off seasons I would work a job just to feel like, hey, maybe I want to do this. I would take courses, be like, hey, maybe I'm interested in this. Like I've done like finance courses, I've done like business writing courses, I've done like random jobs, just trying to figure out what I enjoy. So as part of the journey, I'd say also the CFLPA Academy is there for all players to help them transition. Like we have like firefighting programs, we have like pilot programs. You can go get I think we have scholarships to go get degrees at certain colleges and universities in North America. So there's a lot of options that guys can utilize to really set themselves up for like life after football.
Mhm.
It's just about understanding like I'd say biggest thing I'd say for players too, it's like football is your job, it's not your identity. So there's so much things players can do outside of the game.
Mhm. Yeah, and so last year, obviously I forgot about it until, doing a little digging, but there was a big CFL strike last year and it went very close to, the cutoff of the season. And I read an article that you were just kind of unsatisfied with the CBA that was put forward. How much of that CBA and whatnot is centered around, your guys' life around football and how they support you, like that CFLPA Academy and things like that?
I'd say the CBA wasn't really like centered around that. I'd say the academy. The
Mhm.
biggest thing, like why I wasn't happy with the deal, it was just I just didn't feel like we were like fairly I don't know, I don't think there's always been like a tough the best way to describe the relationship I'd say between like the CFL and the CFLPA or the CFL and CFL players. It's kind of like um, big brother, little brother, and
Right.
like, or it's like something like, or like two step brothers. Like you might not like each other, but you have to work together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be family, but you might not like each other at all times. So it's about both sides want to win, but both sides are not going to get everything they want. So it's about really finding that balance where you can both be happy. And I feel like the first deal we had, everyone wasn't happy. That's why the membership voted it down. So
Mhm.
eventually, the next deal it was more fair. Like we were able to get ratification bonus, which was great for players, especially if you been putting in a lot of years in this league. It's nice to be compensated for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel like that was a major thing, but I'm glad that we were able to not have to go on strike for too long because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like we all want to play football.
Yeah, and for the fans outside of football, how close were we realistically to not having a season last year, in your eyes?
I wouldn't say we were gonna have. I
Okay,
feel sometimes it'll come off like, oh no, we're gonna really be on strike. But at the end of the day, it's like things will. I just didn't see the CFL willing to miss games.
you're right,
Like,
especially after the COVID season.
yeah, basically after a COVID year, it's like you don't want to miss games. After a short season, you don't want to come out and miss games. And there's more than just the game. Hey, you have contracts with other teams, with other like organizations. Hey, that's TSN. Like
Right.
you don't want to mess up that deal if we miss like football games. So there's so much stuff like that. So many other moving parts that are connected.
Mhm.
But I'm glad. Like at the end of the day, I'm glad we're able to get everything done.
For
And
sure.
then we have I think a 7-year agreement. So hopefully that can keep evolving and getting better. Am I going to be around for that entire 7-year agreement? No, but I hope like I just hope it continues to get better for the players. And after that 7 year, the league will just continue to grow and get better because there's so much competition out there now. You have the XFL, you have
USFL,
the
yeah.
USFL, like so many other leagues. So I think the CFL needs to continue to grow and just get better and compensate players fairly to keep bringing good talent over here because it's tough. You get a lot of American guys. Then so you want them to leave their country to come to Canada to play, which it would just sound hey, it sounds good. It doesn't, but it's like if they're gonna make the same amount of money or more in the States, and it's like it's gonna be hard to get them to Canada. So there's so many other things that need to happen, in my opinion. Like I think it's always gets talked about. I'd love to see quarterback salaries off the books, off the salary cap. You know what I mean? Like keep that off so you can keep attracting quality quarterbacks to the CFL and be able to pay them fairly. Because we're a quarterback driven league, so
Yeah.
if their money's off the books, then that's more like maybe more money you can pay them, or also then that's more salary cap. There's more of the salary cap available for the skill position guys and like the guys in the trenches as well. So I figured that's a good way to grow the game. But hey, I'm on. That's not my. That's not my side. I think that's more on the CFL. That's just my opinion.
Mhm. Amazing.
The way you're talking here, you could tell you're a smart guy, and the way we were talking about you bouncing around the defense, you're a smart guy on the field too. You were talking about testing a bunch of jobs and stuff. Is you ever being a coach or in the front office something you've ever thought about?
I've thought about front office. Um, would I want to coach? I wouldn't want to coach pros. I just wouldn't want to coach pros just because you don't really have to coach pros too much. You just have to like at this point we've been around for so long. It's like just give us a game plan. Let us go out there execute. Just help it. All you have to do is really game plan for pros. Okay, this is what we're doing. First and 10, they do this. Second and medium, second and long, etc. This is what they're doing, and this is the strategy. But if I was going to coach, I'd coach probably university. I feel those kids actually need more of like coaching, like skills wise. And I'd love to keep growing the Canadian game, especially the Canadian athletes. So I feel like back in the day, it always said that Canadian athletes weren't as good as American, but now you've seen us like really be comparable to American players, and we just grew up here in Canada, so we continue to get better coaching. I think that is something to do with ex CFL guys coming back to coach in high school, coaching university, just to continue to grow the talent. You see so many guys, Canadian guys, going to American schools and excelling there, then getting NFL opportunities. So I'd love to kind of contribute to that. But yeah, I can't see myself coaching in the pros, but I can do front office.
Amazing. And then we're gonna get closer towards wrapping it up here, Shane, unless you had any last
Yeah, I
thing.
just got one more question. Talking about Montreal and how you keep coming back in Montreal and free agency. Can you just give like one little pitch here to what you would say to free agents trying to come to Montreal?
Free agent trying to come to Montreal.
Yeah.
Hey, the city's fun, so they have to come to Montreal. But hey, like end of the day, I say, hey, get your money. Like, there's really something I preach: go get your money because you don't know how long this game's gonna last. Like, I've been around great players that fortunately had an injury, and then it was just like that. It was over for them, right? So then I've seen them sometimes struggle to transition after. And then then sometimes the game doesn't wait for you. Like the teams move on, like they're not checking up on you, and then they're just gonna be okay. Like hopefully you transition in life. So I feel like for any player, as much as like, hey, if I'm in Montreal, I want to get the best players in Montreal. But at the end of the day, like, hey, go get your money. You got to do what's best for you. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. I'm pretty impartial when I say that. Hey, like, hey, go get your money. Do what's
Yeah.
best for you.
And
But
if you sign
tell the
here,
big city. So if they do want to come,
there
hey,
we go.
you know, you have fun.
And if you sign here, Chris Ackie will send you a huge list of restaurant recommendations.
Oh yeah, all my favorite poutine spots as well.
There we go. And then I don't know if you managed to catch our little clip when we spoke with Will Stanback, but we ended off that episode by asking him a little trivia question. Okay. And it's related to the Alouettes. Chris Ackie, if you can guess the price of one hot dog at a Montreal Alouettes game, what would that figure be?
Price of a hot dog, Adam.
One hot dog, no combo, no drink, no chip, just one hot dog.
$4.50.
$7.50.
$7 kind of robbery is
I know.
$7.50?
We've reached out to Gary. We haven't heard back about the hot dogs. I think he has bigger things to worry about. But yeah, Stanback said 375. I think he was on the higher end too. And yeah, no, a lot of shock when we say that number. Yeah.
No, that's got to change. You
Yeah.
know, you guys need to talk to Gary, talk to people at concession. Like we need more people in the stands. You can't be charging $7.50 for a hot dog.
We need a CFLPA rep to elevate this for us.
I'll handle it. I got you guys.
Anyways, Chris, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. Like I said, we can't thank you enough. We are super excited for this season. Obviously, like I said, a lot of dominoes to fall, but I think all of us have, really high expectations of this core, and I'm expecting a lot of good things this year, and I think it's going to come through. So we'll see you in Hamilton.
See you in Hamilton. See you guys then.